All right, guys, welcome back to the Bryce Bible Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Jeremiah chapter 17, a little bit, verses 5 through 9, and then verses 13 and 14. A passage that talks about how we're supposed to live. A passage that talks about trusting in man versus trusting in God. So let's hop in. Verse 5, Jeremiah chapter 17 says, "Thus saith the Lord, Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord." So in this verse, we see a bit of a progression where the man that does not trust in the Lord is cursed. His heart departs from the Lord. But why is he cursed? He's cursed because he trusts in man and he makes flesh his arm. So what does that mean? It means that he decides that he's going to make his own way, that he's going to trust in man, the ways that man have created, the things that look right to his eyes. Later on in this passage, we read in verse 9, we'll cover this more in depth later, but it says, "The heart is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. Who can know it?" So this man, we're told later, obviously in a few verses here, that the heart is desperately wicked, it's deceitful. But this man trusts in his own heart. This man trusts in man, and therefore he's in trouble. And what's the trouble that he's in? Well, in verse 6 we read, "For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and he shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land that is not inhabited." So this man that trusts in man is compared to a plant in the desert that is going to dry out, that's going to die, that is going to be in an uninhabited place in a salt land where there's no nourishment, there's no nutrition, there's no life. So this is one side of the equation. The man who trusts in man, he's going to be in deep trouble. But then the other side of this, we read in verse 7, "Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is." So this is the other side of the coin. The first man trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, and his heart departs from the Lord. This man trusts in the Lord. His hope is the Lord. What does that mean, to have your hope as the Lord? It means that when we're in good times, when we're in bad times, no matter what the circumstance is, our hope is that we have a God that created us, that sustains us, and that will take care of us. You know, Jesus tells us in the Gospels, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." And I think a helpful addition to that passage is that I am the only way. I am the only truth. I am the only life. No one comes to the Father but by me. This man that trusts in the Lord in verse 7, whose hope the Lord is, sees that the way, the truth, and the life of Jesus is the only way, the only truth, the only life, the only way we can live, the only way we can prosper and have meaning attached to our life, have a set path to walk and a way to go. And so what does this man compare to? In the first bit, we get a man that doesn't follow the Lord compared to a plant in the desert that's going to dry out. But this man who trusts the Lord, it says, "For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreads out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green. And she will not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit." So we can think about this just from the baseline. So the man that trusts himself, that trusts his flesh, does not have a source of water, a source of nourishment. But the man that trusts in the Lord does have nourishment and a source of water. So we can think of that source of water as being, it's Jesus. It's what it's talking about in this passage. But what is your source of water? What is your source of nourishment? Are you in a desert? Are you in a dry and uninhabited land where there is no water, and you're hoping that'll sustain you? Or are you planted by the river? We read in Jeremiah chapter 2, and actually also in this passage about the healing waters, the living waters, about how the Lord is the fountain of living waters. Do you drink from the fountain of living waters? Are you tapped into the fountain of living waters? Are you living, seeking the fountain of living waters? Are you trying to make your own way and find your own waters? Unfortunately, that's a human inclination, is to do that. And we can read in verses 13 and 14, "O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed. They that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living waters. Heal me, O Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved, for you are my praise." So in this passage, the main baseline variable that's different is that the man that trusts in man does not have the fountain of living waters to drink from. And the man that trusts in the Lord has the fountain of living waters to nourish him, to grow him, and to make him whole. He'll be as a tree planted by the waters. He will not be careful in the year of drought. So when things are hard, when things are difficult, when things hurt us, which they will, that's the year of drought that it talks about here. It says he will not be careful in the year of drought. What does that mean? What does it mean to not be careful? In this context, it means that in those times, this man does not have to go and manufacture his own way. This man does not have to manufacture a way to live, a way to make it, a way to go through these tough times. Because he's got a way to walk. Because this man believes in what Romans 8:28 says, that all things work together for good. He believes that Jesus is the only way, the only truth, the only life. When there is a season of drought, when there's a tough time, when the world around us is like this heath in the desert that's talked about early on, that will not see when good comes, that will be in parched places, that will be in a salt land. When those times come, he is still planted by the waters. That doesn't change. When the drought comes, he's still drinking from the fountain of living waters. That doesn't change. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, is that this man's position, his posture, his belonging is, if you think about a tree. So think about a tree. There's this album cover for, I think, Mercy Me or something. I forget the group, but the cover for the album is this big tree, but it shows the root structure all the way down that just flows out of the tree. Think about that. Think about all of the roots that are coming out of a tree. That's this man. He is plugged in to the fountain of living waters, to this river that flows by and nourishes him, which is the Lord, which is a symbol of us when we are planted in our lives into what the Lord says, what the Lord calls us to do and calls us to be. That's a symbol for us. So when the tough times come, we can read in the Gospels, when we are built on the rock, when our foundation is on the rock, we will not be shaken, we will not be moved. We will have a foundation to stand on, and that's this river right here, the river that the Lord is. We finish verses 5 through 8, and then we get to verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So if we can't know our own heart, if we don't understand who we are, I can just speak for myself here. I don't really know myself that well. I don't know who I am very well all the time. Oftentimes I'll feel a certain way and not really understand why, or I'll go through something and not know why I had to go through it, or did I cause, there's a lot of things I don't understand about myself. But we want to follow our hearts. We want to do what Solomon says. I'll turn to it in the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 says, "Rejoice, O young man, in your youth. Let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. And," get this, "walk in the ways of thine heart and in the sight of your eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity." So in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verses 9 through 10, Solomon says, you've got the prerogative to walk after your heart. He literally says, walk in the ways of your heart. Then we turn back to Jeremiah chapter 17, and we're told the heart is deceitful above all things. And one step further, it's desperately wicked. Who can know it? If we walk after the ways of our heart, we will die. We read again in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, right after this, verses 9 and 10 flow into chapter 12, the beginning of verse 12. It talks about how we are going to die. The beginning of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 talks about a lot of different symbolism for when the light in our eyes grows dark, when we are old, when we are weak, when we're about to die. Then, verse 7, then shall the dust return to the earth, our bodies, we will go back to dust, will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher, all is vanity. We will die. We will ultimately go back to the dust that we came from, and our spirit will return to our Creator. What will we have done with it in that time? How will we have lived? Will we have tapped in to the fountain of living waters and lived accordingly, or will we have walked after our own heart? The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Knowing this truth, then, why would we walk after our own heart in our own ways? Well, I mean, the simple answer, I think, is that as humans, we want to be in control. We want to be God. There's a way that seems right to man, but this way leads to death. We read that as well in Proverbs. So we see things and we think that we know where we should go and how we should walk. But when we remember, as we're told here in Jeremiah chapter 17, that cursed be the man that trusts in man, and blessed is the man that trusts in the Lord. It's a radical difference. There is no gray area there. One thing that I don't like very much is ambiguity. I don't like gray area. I like knowing definitively one way or the other. And the good thing is in the Bible, there's a lot of clarity. There's a lot of black and white. We've got two options really. Option number one, like Solomon says in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, we can walk in the ways of our heart. We can go get whatever we want and do whatever we want. But if we do this, then cursed is the man that trusts in himself, that makes flesh his arm, whose heart departs from the Lord, that walks after the ways that he desires. He will dry up in the desert and not have a source of water to drink from, because his heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Or, option two, the option we are called to walk after, blessed is the man that trusts in the Lord, whose hope the Lord is. Heal me, O Lord, verse 14, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved, for thou art my praise. That's our calling. Plain and simple. In the season of drought, like we read in Jeremiah chapter 17, when things get difficult, when things that we don't expect to happen to us, and we don't really know what to do, well, we're going to either be in one of two places. We're going to be tuned into the Lord and drinking from the fountain of living water, so we're going to be all right, believing that all things work together for our good, or we're going to be separated from him and we're going to have to make our own way. And I just don't think that humans were made to make their own way. I don't think we're big enough. I don't think we can do that. So the choice is ours. We either follow the Lord and we're blessed and we have stability because of it, or we follow after our own flesh and we follow after man, and then we have to answer for it. All right. Hope you have a good week.